All right, I think this is number 22, something like that. But and I'm sorry we've been a little behind getting back to the Palisades. We kind of been busy. You know, that making a living thing. Anyway, so what we want to focus on today is getting the backs in and looking at closing the doors and getting our knobs on. And as you can see, again, we're getting pretty close. And I want to talk a little bit about the finishing schedules and what we're going to be doing. Now, if you remember back in some of the earlier webisodes, we went ahead and resawed the material for the backs. And we talked about we wanted to get them stickered and acclimated. And that's exactly what we did. You know, we've got little sticks in between each one of these. And this is the cherry that we resawed. It's 10 inches wide. And like I said, we had sticks going all the way through them and had them taped. And as you can see, we stayed pretty flat. Did well. Now what we're going to be doing is what is called a ship lap back. And this is simply where one back slightly overlaps the other. Now, we're going to be using a 1/4 inch dado blade. Kind of a rough way to figure this is now listen carefully, take the opening that you've got. Because we're going to be cutting a notch on each side 1/4 inch, how many number of boards you have, meaning in this case we have 4. And these are 10 inches wide. Now I realize most of you none of the others are 10 inches, that's pretty wide. But anyway, what we have to do then, because each time we notch it, we're going to lose 1/4 inch. Got that? So in this case, we've got 4 boards. 4/4 is an inch. Okay? So when you're calculating how much wood you're going to need to cover your back, make sure you include that. Meaning if this is, I think it's 38 inches or something, whatever it is, you got to have 39 inches. In this case, I've got 40. I can always trim a little bit. And so make sure you got plenty of material to do it. And remember, you're going to lose 1/4 inch off the width of each piece because of that little notch. All right, we're going to go to the table saw and we're going to start cutting some notches. Things you're going to want, like I said, I've got a 1/4 inch dado set in here. And you're going to need an auxiliary fence just to keep from damaging yours. Now the other thing I'm going to do, each one of these backs is right at 1/4 inch. Because I want a feather board. Ooh. Broom, I'm allergic to them. I want a feather board just to keep me down tight on that dado blade. All right. I better put another clamp on that. Can I sneak it in here? Yeah, I can. All right, the other thing I want to do is I'm going to come in right against my fence. Now I got to be careful because, sneak up on this thing because I got to get my groove, and the object of the game is to make each one overlap the other, but yet fit level. I know I'm gonna trim a little bit, so I got an ugly spot right there. I'll use that for an outside. Even though it's gonna be painted, camera girl don't want ugly spots. I need to come in a little more, don't I? A little more. There we go. Close, let's see. I think I need to come up a little bit. Yep, just a little. Because you got to remember, you're going to be taking it off of both grooves. That's pretty good. I could go just a teeny bit more. There we go. All right. Now the other thing we're going to want to do is, except for the outside one, we're going to want to run the notch on one side and then the opposite side. Don't put them on the same side. All right. Now the way this is going to go in is, again, one goes on, the other one overlaps it. Okay? Now, since we've only got 4 boards, if we look at this, I'm going to need one more outside one, which is going to be here. And here. Now, just so you know, yes, we're going to paint this cherry. All right, I'm at 39 inches. All right, I'm at 37. So the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take an inch off of this side, inch off of this side, and I'm good. Except there's one problem. We've got expansion and contraction. Don't forget that. So we really don't want to butt these up really tight. We want to keep about a 1/16 of an inch between each one. As well, we want to keep about a 1/16 on the sides. We want to give it room to move. Now at this point, I'm ready to cut them to length and get them ready to go in. But of course, I'm not going to install them until after they're finished. Now to install the backs, because we're doing kind of an old-timey pie safe, if you will, I like to, these come from the hardware store or one of the box stores, and it's just called a cut tack. These are 3/4, it's a number 14 by 3/4. And here's what they look like. They look like the old cut nails. They're black. Now, what I'll do is I'll drill a little small hole in the top or wherever I want the nail to go, and then drive it into the case. You know, you don't, and the reason is when you get out on an edge, when you're doing an edge and you're getting close to a top, that's a real good place for a nail to split. Okay? So just do a little pre-drill, but again, just pre-drill the back, don't drill the case. Now this 3/4 inch nail, and since these are 10 inches wide, odds are I'll drill like a little 1/8 inch hole. That even allows a little movement under the nail. And when I drive it in, you know, at 3/4, I've got 1/2 inch holding. Now these being as wide as they are, like I said, I'll probably put 3 across the top and the bottom, of course, and in the case of this pie safe, I'll put some across above the drawer opening. So that holds it well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just cut these to length on the chop saw, and we'll come back and see how they fit. All right, one back. Now again, you notice I left room in here so I can move everything over a little bit. You know, and set some spacing, give it room for expansion and contraction. There's also just a little bit of a gap at the top. I'll kind of divide that up when I nail it in. Just give everything room and make it for a nice back. And over here, you're going to notice we still got some bandsaw marks where we resawed it. We sand it, that'll be gone. Now we talked about painting this. Here's what's going to happen. We will go through and do our filling. And, you know, again, we used good wood, just got a few defects here and there. When you fill something like this and you're going to paint it, you want to be, you know, you really don't want to just use a regular wood putty or something. You can, but a lot of them aren't real durable. So I'm going to tell you again, my favorite thing for filling something like that, especially if it's going to get painted, is auto body filler. You know, it's hard, strong, and you know, you sand the surface and you don't see it shrinking back and whatever, you know, years down the road. So that being the case, that's what will happen. And at this point, this is ready now to sand. Now, the other thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use a General Finishes dye. It's called light brown. I'm going to dye it light brown. And the reason for that is so, you know, we're going to be doing multiple colors, so when I wear through, I've got something a little dark under there. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm probably going to spray it with a light coat of Seal Coat shellac. Why? Well, the dye I'm going to be using is water-based, and it dries really fast. But for the most part, the paints we're going to be using are water-based, or latex, if you will. And I just don't want all that water, especially on, like these wide bikes and whatever. The other thing with shellac is it's going to give me a good bonding coat, a good seal. So I'll use the Seal Coat basically as a primer, if you will. And then I can come back and take a little piece of 320 sandpaper and give everything a light scuff sand. Then I have a really nice paintable surface. Now, would you say we're doing green under white? Huh? And brown. All right. So what's going to happen the next time you see this, it should be brown with a coat of shellac on it. Now I'll show you how I put the shellac on now. I said I was going to spray it. Yeah. If you wanted to and you just wanted to paint it, a really good primer out here for painting something is you see it at the box stores. It's called Bins, B-I-N. Now there's two types. There's a water base and there's a shellac base. Now the way you're going to know the difference is the shellac base is, well, a lot more expensive. But again, shellac is an excellent, excellent sealer. And so, if I was just going to paint it and I wasn't doing the distressing thing, I'd probably put a coat of Bins on it and then scuff it, again with some 320, and I've just got a really nice, smooth, paintable surface. And especially if you did one out of pine or something and you've got knots and whatever in it, putting a coat of shellac on it is an excellent thing to do, because shellac will seal a pine knot. It's one of the few things in the world that will. Tell you something else. This has nothing to do with these Palisades. And I realize most people wouldn't be painting glass, but we've got some paint windows back here in the back where we was getting too much sun in on our wood and whatever. And you put a coat of shellac on glass and then put a coat of paint over it, it'll stay. It really seals and makes for a good bonding surface. The other thing that it does is that futuristic, if you ever changed your mind and you decided you wanted to strip the finish off, especially if you were using an oak or pine or something like that and you were painting, is it seals those pores and whatever. So if you ever wanted to take that paint off, you can get it off. Okay, you can strip the shellac off. And it's not going to be, the paint's not going to be embedded so deep in the wood. Just something I thought I'd throw in. Okay, what I'm going to do now is we're going to get the backs off and we're going to look at how we're going to secure these doors. We have a couple options. Securing the doors. Now what we had originally talked about was, and I've seen this on a lot of the old Palisades, and we've got a little gadget we make. Looks like this. You've got a notch cut, and you can shape it any way you want. A little round end. And typically what you do is this goes on here just like this, and then you chisel a slot right here. And it has a screw goes through it. And so it screws in place and it twists. And that holds the whichever door you want shut. And you usually have one at the bottom, one at the top. And that's the way a lot of the old original ones were done. However, or you saw the little twist knob on the outside. We call them outhouse latches. Kind of self-explanatory, it's a stick with a screw and you twist it and it, but you had to secure the one door. Thinking about that, in Crystal's case, she's got kids. So that means, that means that we may have an issue. And so once this door was secured, then in the other door, this goes through the door and you have this knob that turns behind it. Now the question then becomes, when you open this door and you walk up to the first door, you got to twist this, open the door, then you have to undo this latch and undo that latch. The alternative, and the one I think I'm going to go with on these, because inevitably, I've seen this more times than not, people jerk. They just, jerk on the door. So what I'm going to use, I think, is just a nice brass catch. Now, yeah, you could use a magnet one if you want it. And this is what they look like. There's a screw in each end that allows you to set the tension, and you've got it's brass, and you've got two steel little balls in here that catch on this catch. Now, they got to be precise, I'll tell you that. So what you do is this mounts to the door, and then this would mount right here, and, well, you get the point. So this would mount here, and then this against it. Now you can put one on each door, but because these doors overlap, you really only have to put one on this door that overlaps the other, and one holds the other one shut. So when you want to open it, you just simply pull it open, and both doors can swing open. I think that's what we're going to do. Now, that being the case, I can tell you from experience from using these, you don't want to put them on until you're completely done. Because again, they have to be very, very precise. Okay? And don't put the back in until you've got this on. So you can get in from this side, because or make sure you don't have the tins in, because trying to do it blind is not easy. Now again, I got these from a company, and there may be others out. I got these from a company called Paxton Hardware, P-A-X-T-O-N. So I think it's paxtonhardware.com. They're not real expensive, and but they do work well. Now I do know they have a minimum $10 order, but you can get a bunch of them for $10, and if you've never used them, they do very, very nice. And they come with the brass screws to attach them. So that being the case, what I need to do now is just go ahead and drill the doors for the regular knobs. And then, outside of the tins being prepped, it's ready to sand and get done. Okay, so I'm going to turn it around and we'll drill for the doorknobs and get ready to go. All right, all I'm going to do is my exposure from here to here is 9 inches. So I'm at 4.5 top to bottom. And then I'm at 2.5. So I'm gonna go 1 1/4. Just center them up. All right, let me get a 3/8 bit. All right, I don't want to go through the door on this, so I'm just going to mark me a drill stop. See what I'm doing? I just don't want to, punch all the way through. Just simply drill a hole. All right, now because the knobs, and again, these came from Horton Brass, they come with a really long tenon on them. And these are maple, makes for a good strong knob. What I'm gonna do is I just need to mark it again for my depth. I'll just go to the bandsaw and cut them off, and we'll be good to go. So let me do that real quick, and we'll come back and look at some more. All right, a couple knobs. You know, when I walked over here and cut this, I wasn't thinking I need to show you something. Let's go to the bandsaw real quick. When you cut something like this, if you just come in here and you try to cut that, what's going to happen is that blade can grab this and try to slam it down. A smart way to do it is just to put a piece of wood up here at the side and cut it like this. That way it can't push down, you're supported. Another thing you can do is just make yourself, you know, like that's like a zero insert, but it allows me to lay this upon the edge of it so that it's fully supported. Because again, something round, I mean, it can just jerk it right out. It can jerk on you pretty hard. So again, see what I'm talking about? Or again, just lay it on the side, something where that cut is being supported. Don't forget that. All right, that does it for this one. The next one, I think is about tens, right? I guess so. I guess we're at that point. We need to start putting pins in. So we'll wrap this one and take a look at the tens in the next one.